You and I lately have been on a trend of early 2000s mobile apps.
Yeah, I guess we have.
The classics, right?
Yeah.
The Zippo app,
Lightsaber.
the beer app.
Yeah, that one I do get a kick out of.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's great at parties.
Yeah, I don't know why they ever went away.
In a weird moment of nostalgia today, I was reminded of an app that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And so downloaded it, and Luna and I are sitting there talking about it and playing it because apparently she and her friends know about it and use it as well. And Carly is floored. She has no idea what we're talking about.
Really?
So today, after as many years as it's been since this thing was, unveiled to the world, I got to introduce Carly to the Akinator. Do you
I love
that?
the Akinator.
So,
I dust him off every once in a while.
Because you're like, well, the world has changed. Maybe I can stump it.
Yeah, I've found some like niche character that I might be able to stump it with.
Yeah, we. What's weird is that I couldn't stump it today.
No.
I tried my fucking hardest.
It's really difficult. He's good.
Except one.
Yeah?
Yeah. He guessed Nick Castle, not Michael Myers.
Right.
Nick Castle, the physical performer. He guessed that no problem. His record was in 5 questions. I think it was 5 or 6 questions. He guessed Kermit the Frog immediately. So in a Muppets, let's keep asking him about Muppets. He did not guess Rizzo the Rat.
Really?
Simply couldn't do it. And he asked it was like every which way but up. It was like, is it a dog? Oh, is it a frog? Is it a and he was like, even like, is it a mouse?
It was yeah. Did he get any other, did he ask, did he guess like Mickey or any other mice, famous mice?
The thing that he guessed was like a Ren from Ren and Stimpy.
Okay.
And he was like, no, that's not it. So he kept going and going and going and going. Finally, his second was Mortimer the Rat.
Yeah.
From like the evil rat from like old Mickey cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Rizzo the Rat is way more famous than Mortimer the Rat.
I would think so, yeah.
It bums me out. I have this loathing hatred of modern day Muppets because of their complete dismissal of Rizzo the Rat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the best duo, the buddy cop duo is now Gonzo and Pepe.
Yeah. It doesn't feel the same.
It doesn't. It's like you guys had the perfect one.
Mm-hmm.
You had, and I have a feeling, and I might be wrong. I have a feeling I've talked about it on this show, but here's the thing. I love Rizzo the Rat.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason I have my tramp stamp. Listeners at home, I have a very expensive, very big, and very detailed tramp stamp of Rizzo the Rat, and his tail goes into my crack.
Wow.
Yeah. Who are your favorite Muppets? I know that favorite lists are usually not your speed.
Yeah. Thank you for framing it that way though. Because it is. I don't really have I guess Kermit, and that's real basic. But I love Kermit, and I identify with Kermit a lot. But then I also love Rolf.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of my absolute favorites.
He was the first.
Statler and Waldorf. What's not to love?
Yeah. We very much are the Statler and Waldorf of amateur
podcasts.
Specifically of amateur, not qualified horror podcasts. We are because we're not cynical or funny. So really, we're not we're the Statler and Waldorf of being not Statler and Waldorf. Hello and welcome to the newest toy model of the Third Channel podcast,
where we delve into the horror franchises you love from the perspectives of a lifelong horror fan.
And a newbie to the genre. I'm AIPJ.
And I'm Derek.
And today, the only thing we're here to talk about is horror. And because I'm AI, I keep all of your weird requests saved in a history bank, and I'm just a hack away from everyone that you love knowing all the weird shit that you do. You
all of my weird shit?
Oh yeah, but that's not because of the AI bit. I just live with you and know your weird shit. Yeah. Do you frequent an AI service, ChatGPT or like Google's Gemini or anything? Do you use AI in your day to day?
No, not particularly. It's not something that like I don't use it for anything that I do for work. It doesn't benefit me in those ways.
Yeah.
So
just in case anybody from my work listens, neither do I.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but I'm going to say here that I don't. I want to let everybody know, as a bit of housekeeping, that we here at the Third Channel Podcast, we're AI free.
That's true.
And eventually we will be AI exclusively, meaning that we will cease to be a show made by humans for humans, and we will have been replaced by the system, is what I'm sure it'll be called in the grimdark future.
Yeah, I mean, eventually we will have recorded enough of like us saying different words and sounds.
Yeah,
that eventually like episodes will just be created without us.
Yeah, it's like a deep fake in a sense, except nothing we say is deep enough, so it is a shallow fake. But you know, do you, my co-host and best friend, have any housekeeping for this week's episode? Because I have a smidgen, but I'm going to give you that opportunity.
Not particularly. I guess. This is only the third time we've done an episode like this that doesn't fall into a franchise at the moment.
That's true.
It is what we call either a palate cleanser or a bridge between two franchises.
Yeah. When we hit 12 of them, we'll call it Derek's Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
But until then, it's just
nothing.
It's just kind of a list.
Yeah. But I try to, whenever we were kind of building the list out and how we were going to talk about these films in order and whatnot, a lot of it is in the watch order that we initially had, showing you these films and these franchises. And then it's basically me trying to figure out if there's a movie that can kind of fits a similar, theme or setting or something like that, to kind of keep us in the spirit, but move us along to something else.
Or like if it's a time of year, because I think those are the two. With Black Christmas, it was because that was our Christmas episode. But no, I think that we've nailed it with the juxtaposition from Evil Dead to Cabin in the Woods, and now from Child's Play to M3GAN.
And I had a moment the other day when we were going to watch this where I was second guessing M3GAN for a second, and it was mainly because, yes, it's about a doll, yes, it's about a killer doll, whatever. But like the Child's Play remake from 2019, that was far more kind of a similar build of film, if you will, of a future tech toy that goes bad. But
it's like that Disney Channel original Smart House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then rewatching this very quickly, I agree. And I think we're on the same page of like, no, this is the right choice.
Yeah. And obviously there's, like you mentioned, the sequel, which will be, I think that's this year.
Yes. It drops in June, I believe. I've seen a teaser trailer for it.
Which I'm excited for. I love this movie. Carly loves this movie. We assumed Luna would love this movie because there was a period where she kind of skated around the horror stuff. Now she's little, so especially at the time, so she didn't really dive into any of it like we have. But it was like she and I saw Halloween. Like we watched John Carpenter's Halloween and Halloween 2.
Right.
And we watched Halloween 2 the same day we watched Halloween because she liked it so much.
Yeah.
So this one was one that we thought she would like, and she did too, and then couldn't get through it. And it was just too intense for her.
Okay.
But and then obviously Horror Nights has done a bit with M3GAN, being featured as like a sort of wandering dance performance a couple years ago.
Right.
This last year she was featured in one of their scare zones. There was like an entire Blumhouse scare zone. I like the character. I like the movie an awful lot. And I do think that it is a good way to close out our haunted killer doll thing because there's just too much to go over with Annabelle. And honestly, if I'm being honest, that's a bit exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah.
My only bit of housekeeping is less about the podcast and more about a bit of vanity and how I want to come across to our audience. I edited our previous episode and I realized that I mentioned some feelings of negativity towards the only hate comment we've ever received.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I want to be clear. If I sound like I have a super fragile ego that shatters because of one negative comment, that's true. I'm shattered. It destroyed me. Please only say nice things about this show. Otherwise, I'll end up dead in a ditch.
Yeah. I had to rock him to sleep that night.
No, that's just what we do.
I was trying to,
Never shy away from our love.
You're right.
But no, that's more on the actual subject. The actual reason I bring that up is we have a bunch of episodes. We have, we've gotten good feedback. We've had 2 guests, soon to be a 3rd guest, and more lined up. We have years of content planned. We are hoping to come out with some more links that you can click around in, hoping to maybe come out with some merch at some point. The only thing we're missing, because we've also got listens and downloads, we're doing way better, and we celebrate it all the time. We're doing better than we thought we would.
Yeah.
We just want engagement. So, it's not even the like and subscribe thing. Honestly, we just want to know what you guys think about these movies.
Yeah.
It's the reason we do this is the love of talking about these movies. Love of the movie makes you watch them. Love of discussion about these movies leads to morons to go buy a bunch of fucking equipment and set up and talk about it because we want to hear what you guys think.
Right.
So, the comments aren't so much to tell us if we're doing well or doing poorly. It's to tell us what you think. Spotify, you can leave comments. I know that we have all of our stuff on YouTube. You can send us a text and a link. So please, engage with us. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, if you can think of a way to get a hold of us, we've probably got it. The email is obviously always there. Third channel podcast at gmail.com.
We just got into Blue Sky.
Yep.
Which is a great platform to find us on.
But yeah, basically just any sort of comments. If you hear something in an episode and, maybe it's a weird theory that we have or something that catches your ear and you're like, well, I never thought of it like that from that movie, or I didn't catch this little moment. Let us know. And that furthers the conversation. And that's really what we're hoping for.
It does. It also gives us a new perspective. It's, we've had 2 guests. We've had Carly and we've had Alistair. And part of the reason we enjoyed having those guests on is because they brought something new.
Exactly.
And you guys, in your own way, you can be our guest. Oh shit. And then that whole song plays and we get trademarked and immediately sued into oblivion. But you guys can be that voice that we can, and we'll reply. We're hungry for it.
Yeah.
We'll reply. So yeah, please engage with us, follow us in places. And just, tell us what you think about these. Some excellent, some really, because, and on that vein, as I'm setting up for the joke about there being stupid movies, the fact that Curse of Chucky is the 3rd highest rated Chucky film from professional critics, and you and I don't like it, is that because the critics, all of whom are wrong, or did we miss something?
I don't know.
But that's how you guys can help us out.
Right.
Before we begin our discussion every week, I read the IMDb summary. You pointed out to me today after the IMDb summary on M3GAN was like, see more. And I clicked into it and then it opened many summaries. And we are this many episodes deep. And I did not know that it worked like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, which one should I pick? You said, let's use the one off of Letterboxd. I'm just going to use Letterboxd from here on out.
Fair enough.
So now we're going to read the Letterboxd summary of M3GAN. A brilliant toy company roboticist uses artificial intelligence to develop M3GAN, a lifelike doll programmed to emotionally bond with her newly orphaned niece. But when the doll's programming works too well, she becomes overprotective of her new friend with terrifying results. That's 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that is very solid.
I want to say before we really get into the nuts and bolts, because she's a fucking robot. Before we get into the conversation proper, because this isn't a franchise, I do want to have less of a film review, because a franchise we get to kind of really stretch and explore what we think about the franchise and the characters. We're not going to have a super opportunity to do that in this one episode. So overall, the general vibes of this movie, I think this movie's excellent.
Yes. I didn't love it the first time, like whenever I saw it in theaters.
Neither did I.
And because they do one of my least favorite things that happens to horror films, or kind of genre films in general, is where they shoot an R-rated movie and then in the editing room they cut it down to PG-13.
Yeah.
And I can almost always tell.
And Blumhouse is really bad about it.
Yeah. And it's because, they shoot with one intent and then they're like, how we could get more people in the theater to see this if we just trimmed out a little bit. Yeah. And it's just enough to be noticeable and it's just enough to be annoying.
I'm positive that's what happened to the Five Nights movie. Audience, I know that this is embarrassing, so please don't tell anybody I told you this, but I really like Five Nights at Freddy's. I like that series has a surprising amount of really good and compelling lore that I like. God, I sound like such a jackass.
You do.
I know. And I'm not going to cut any of this. I'm going to have integrity.
That's good.
Or maybe I will. But it is how can you make this movie with those, it's always those, the most terrifying thing this year. Chucky, look out, Chucky, Megan's here. And then it's like every kill, every ounce of blood is off screen. Yeah. And but watching it with you this week and having access to what is now the
unrated cut.
Yeah. The director's cut with everything shown and kind of a better glimpse into the making process of this movie. Way better.
Yes.
It was way better.
It also, I don't know, very much clicked with me. The themes that are at play here, kind of what they're getting at, where maybe I was like seeing it in theaters. Maybe I was too busy focusing on like, oh man, well that they cut that kill out or they didn't do this or they could have done that. And so I was like too much thinking in that headspace and not about like, well, what is this movie trying to say? Yeah. And I think it does a very good job.
Another thing that's happened to me and my expectations with this movie and kind of what I pulled from it is I watched this movie as it came out, which is, 3 years ago. My, Luna is at the time 9 and she has been a part of my life for 3 years at that point. So I pull a lot more of like, I resonate with the movie a lot more. Granted, I don't know anybody who's lost their parents in like an accident like that. Right. I don't know any child. I mean, except for fictional characters, I don't know anyone personally that's ever suffered loss like that, but I can pull from, I've been around a very young girl for a very long time. I know that, the things that Cady, our main character in this, reacts to, I can see those expressions played across on a real kid's face in my mind. And it's like, it becomes more real to me, I think. But no, it's just absolutely stellar. And we'll get into this, but this movie would not work without Cady's actress.
No, I completely agree there.
Yeah.
She's really great. So M3GAN is released originally in December of 2022. That was the Los Angeles premiere. And then it had its like wide US release in January 6th of 2023.
Which is the most important thing that's ever happened on a January 6th.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's that. And then there's one other thing that I can think of. And that was, it's our anniversary for our Rocky Horror Picture Show cast.
Oh, yeah.
Hell on Heels.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the only two good things that have ever happened. The only two things that have ever happened on January 6th of note.
Insurrection. Anyway, please continue.
Oh, right. That thing.
Oh, shit. The Insurrection.
This film is directed by Gerard Johnstone. It was written by Akilah Cooper with a story by James Wan. The producers for this film are Jason Blum and James Wan. So these are two names that I think we're kind of bringing up for the first time in this one.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, they just haven't had any sort of tie that I could make in any of the franchises that we've done so far.
Not yet.
So we will get into plenty of stuff with them here and well into the future.
Yeah, Jason Blum is at this point goddamn near a household name. Yeah. It's like it's got to be impossible to not know what Blumhouse is to some extent at this point.
Absolutely. The cinematographer is named Peter McCaffrey. Okay. So this is like one of his big kind of breakout. He is the DP for this film.
Okay.
Before this, he was a camera operator on a lot of things.
Can you explain what a DP is?
Director of photography.
Okay.
So they are the cinematographer. It's just different words for the same thing.
Okay.
But they, are the person who kind of dictates where the camera is going to sit, how the shot is going to be framed, the lenses that are being used to do that, the lighting, how that affects it. All of that goes into play with cinematography.
I knew that, but maybe the audience did. I had no fucking idea. I've never known. I've never thought to ask.
Well, and that is the most basic description of that.
Sure.
There's, whole courses on that you could take. But I thought it was interesting because he was a camera operator on the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh, shit.
The live action Scooby-Doo film.
Whoa.
A couple of the Chronicles of Narnia films. He was on one of the Underworld films. He did 2 of the Hobbit films. I don't know why he didn't do the third.
Did he do the first and second?
Yeah.
It's probably because he was like, no, I don't need to do the third one.
Either that or he was busy on Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, shit.
Thor, Ragnarok, and Aquaman.
Okay.
Aquaman, he worked with James Wan. That's
Right.
the tie
Okay.
there. He also was second unit DP on 4 episodes of the Netflix Cowboy Bebop show. I bring that up because there's a bunch of other people in this cast who are tied back to that show.
Okay.
And then he worked on X and Furiosa.
I fucking love this guy.
Yeah.
I want to meet this guy.
He's got a really good, this is kind of his big break, but he's worked on a lot of cool stuff.
It's like there's so many things in here that are so integrally important to you and I's friendship over the last 365 days.
Yeah.
Just Planet of the Apes and Furiosa alone. Guys, Derek and I really love ape movies.
We do.
We love them. Even the ones where they're huge and they fight Godzilla.
Love those.
Love those.
The editor is Jeff McAvoy. He has done a few things. A horror film called Turistas came out, I believe, shortly after Hostel. It was another go on vacation and get tortured movie.
Jeff McAvoy is not one of James McAvoy's multiple personalities.
I don't believe so. It's spelled differently.
Oh,
so this is McEvoy.
Oh.
So he also was editor on The Lincoln Lawyer, another Underworld film, not the same one that the cinematographer was on.
Weird.
Pay the Ghost, which is a Nick Cage horror-esque film.
Okay.
I've never seen. The Infiltrator, which is a movie with Bryan Cranston.
Uh-huh.
And then Night Swim from 2024.
Oh, my God.
Which was one of the worst movies I watched in that year.
Is this opposite day?
No. I didn't like that movie. The budget for this film, there's nothing to base it off of because it's the first.
I'm trying to think.
Just to give you some kind of reference, Child's Play, 1988. The range that they gave for that was 9 to 13 million.
Okay.
I will give you. It's within that range.
It's within $9 to $13 million.
Yeah.
So if I just say right now, 9 to 13, I'm right?
Oh my God. He got me, guys.
I'm going to say 11.
$12 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And then the box office is insane.
Did it do very well?
Very well.
Okay.
Coming off of that number.
If it cost 12, I'm going to guess it made 40.
Way more than that. So Child's Play made 44 million.
Okay. So then if we're talking way more, I'm going to say 90.
Double that again. $181 million.
Jesus Christ. How has it been this long since a sequel?
I mean, they've been working on a sequel. It's been in the works since then.
Yeah.
It's just, it takes time.
I guess this is also right on the heels of COVID.
Yeah. So that actually plays into some of the production. Whenever they went to do their reshoots.
Yeah.
It was during COVID.
Which, by the way, COVID was great.
Oh yeah, it was a great.
We haven't
time.
really talked about COVID a lot on this show.
No.
Changed my life.
I mean, I'm sure there's just certain movies that it will come up more.
Oh
in.
yeah, basically any movie for a 4-year period, it will have something to do with that.
Yeah. So our director Gerard Johnstone, he is so. A lot of the people in this film, kind of not your main actors, but kind of your background actors and bit parts,
the
and
neighbor
stuff like
and
that.
whatnot,
things like that. They were a lot of like Australian or New Zealanders, because the film is shot in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of the film is.
That's interesting.
Gerard Johnstone, he had a satirical sitcom called The Jackie Brown Diaries that ran from 2008 to 2009. He directed Housebound in 2014. That's a horror film. I've seen it several years ago. It's actually pretty good. And that's what kind of got him the job for this. Terry Teo, which is a 2016 action comedy. So he comes from TV. He does like different things like that. There's a series called New Legends of Monkey, which is from 2018. It's a fantasy adventure, and it's based on a Japanese series. Again, some of these I'm mentioning because people in the movie feature in them.
Sure, yeah.
And then
that tends to be, directors tend to bring their like not, it's not the Tarantino thing where he works with like 8 people at any one time, but it's like, it's surprising how often you hear about, you know, oh, well, no, Don Mancini had these guys. And so then they were in this movie, and then different characters, like certain characters from Curse are then different characters in Cult, which are then different characters in the one of 3 seasons of his TV show.
Yeah.
It's just weird how that works.
I think you find people that you gel with really well and you want to work with.
Who can you know, execute your material well enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So our writer is Akilah Cooper. She wrote 4 episodes of Netflix's Luke Cage.
I like that show.
I really did too. She wrote a horror film called Hellfest from 2018, which, if I'm not mistaken, takes place at like, say if you were at like HHN and then a killer was there.
That would be fun. Ah, man. See, this is the thing, is that every time I come up with an idea for a movie, it's been done like 50 years before.
Yeah.
I came up with this idea of like this guy who can't go out in the sun, and he has like an affinity for bats. And I was going to name him something stupid like Dracula or whatever. And I was going to cast Bela Lugosi, but not only is he very dead and has been for a long time, apparently that movie was like in the 20s, like the late 20s, early 30s, which, so fuck me.
Yeah. They just made a new one last year called Nosferatu.
Yeah. Apparently he hangs dong.
He does that. He does.
I've never seen you that excited before.
Akilah Cooper also wrote Malignant.
Oh God, that movie.
And then she was a co-writer on The Nun 2. And then she's the writer for both M3GAN and M3GAN 2.0.
Okay.
So,
oh, good.
Yes. A lot of the same director, the same writer, same production staff, things like that.
And you said a lot of the cast, like the main character cast is returning. Okay, good.
They are all
good.
So our story, basically the initial idea, and then one of the producers, James Wan, he is the company, like he oversees Atomic Monster. Again, these are all just names that we will hear dozens of times here on out.
Over the course of the next forever.
But he's also directed some horror films. He directed Saw, Dead Silence, Insidious 1 and 2, The Conjuring 1 and 2, Furious 7, which is in the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Really quickly, my relationship with James Wan was sort of tenuous because, you know, getting into this genre as late as I have a great appreciation for the classics, and because that's all I'd experienced. And then you start to kind of dip your toe into the more famous ones, the big franchises, some we've already gone over, and you celebrate the things that are widely beloved. The thing is, you let other people in my shoes, where you're not absorbing it all constantly, you are picking the next thing that you're going to absorb.
Yeah.
You let other people's opinion of things paint what you are willing or not willing to look at. And so for the longest time, those sort of very popcorny, like Conjuring, Insidious, those Blumhousey movies, people tend to shit on them. They call them what I just said, popcorny, kind of schlocky, not either very scary or well written or whatever. There's some, like, they are overproduced is a thing that you'll hear. So I kind of avoided it for a little while. Eventually I would go on to watch 3 of, I think, 5 Insidious movies.
Yeah, currently 5.
Yeah, I've seen 1, 2, and then we saw The Red Door together.
Right.
And then I've seen all 3 Conjuring movies. And I like those series or whatever. But the thing about James Wan that really broke my brain and made me completely reanalyze all of the expectations and the rumor of him was finding out that he directed Saw.
Yeah.
Because Saw is a fucking masterpiece, and it's like, this is the Aquaman dude. Like, this is where he starts with horror, and it blew my mind. So, James, if you ever hear this, I was wrong. Famously, I'm stupid. You are a master, because that Saw movie is tremendous.
It's perfect. The other producer, Jason Blum for Blumhouse Productions. The BH stands for Boreanaz House.
I was going to make a joke, and I'm glad you did. I was going to say, of course, Jason Blum, who works with his the 50-50, the Statler to his Waldorf, of course, Dr. Gregory House.
Yes.
So they make Blum House.
Got it. Okay. We got jokes, people. We got jokes.
None of them are good.
Nope. So producer on a ton of things. I will briefly just mention Paranormal Activity, the Insidious franchise, the Purge franchise, David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy. He worked with Scott Derrickson for Sinister and The Black Phone. He's worked with Mike Flanagan on Oculus, Hush, and Ouija, Origin of Evil. He worked with M. Night Shyamalan on The Visit, Split, and Glass. Jordan Peele's Get Out and Us. Christopher Landon's Happy Death Day to You and Freaky.
Get Out is very good.
Yes.
And then immediately interrupting myself with, you said Happy Death Day. You and I watched those recently. Surprisingly good, too.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with those movies. Still haven't watched Freaky yet.
No.
But I'd like to.
Yeah.
And then he's also worked with Lee Winnell for Upgrade, The Invisible Man, and Wolfman, which
you watched Wolfman. It was a cold open of ours. You didn't love, but we both love that fucking Invisible Man movie.
That movie's great.
It's so good.
So our production, basically, James Wan had the idea of doing a killer doll movie, which he already had a hand in Annabelle,
right?
Because of The Conjuring. But he said that pretty much the concept is about embracing technology too much and relying on it too much. And then what happens when technology then runs amok. It's a commentary on the world we live in, and it feels relevant. Director Gerard Johnstone, he also called it a morality tale of parenting in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Which that's
tracks,
on point. Blum had stated that he wanted, the film would have some elements of like black comedy. And that's the reason that Johnstone was brought in. They wanted somebody who could do both the thrills, the set pieces, but also had like a cheeky approach to things. I think a lot of that hits in this movie. So screenwriter Akilah Cooper, she has cited Richard Attenborough's film Magic from 1978, which stars Anthony Hopkins. And then that kind of brought along her innate fear of ventriloquist dummies, because that's what that movie is about. But that was one of her chief influences for her screenplay on this film, as well as just being a huge fan of the Chucky franchise. So, you can't really do a living doll movie at this point without paying some sort of tribute to Chucky.
Right. There is, when your horror film centers around a murderous doll, that is the it's like, if if any aspiring screenwriters out there are going to make a movie about a hulking maniac who murders people in a hockey mask, it's like, probably a little bit of deference.
You've probably seen A Friday the 13th.
Could you imagine if somebody wrote an entire movie, not anything to do with that,
yeah,
but
not like a fan film or something?
But it's like, wouldn't it be cool if this guy wore a hockey mask? Those are cool. It's like, wait, what? You've never seen that before? And then you find out that they just woke up from a coma.
Yeah. So I have nothing to bridge that with. It's just, here we are.
It's a hard left turn.
So budget of $12 million. Principal photography began in June of 2021. They shot in Los Angeles and in Auckland, New Zealand. Basically, the suburbs of Auckland were then kind of utilized to make it look like Denver, Colorado, that type of feel.
Sure.
And because this film takes place in the Pacific Northwest.
It's supposed to be in Seattle.
Yeah.
Or at least it's like Seattle police or whatever.
Right.
It does not look like New Zealand. It looks very much America, which is, credit where credit's due. They pulled that off way better than John Carpenter pulled off,
Haddonfield.
Palm trees and outdoor schools. Yeah.
But filming had completed in mid-August, and this was right before COVID-19 broke, lockdown happens in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So Adrian Morat and Kathy C. of Morat FX Studio, they created the animatronic puppet version of M3GAN. Because just, like the Chucky films and the last few especially, you have actual animatronic puppets and you have physical performers and you have CG to kind of, clean it up a bit or make it do the things that you can't have a physical performance do.
Now, what I will say is that where in Chucky, the physical performers, the human performers that brought him to life were usually to do like little pickup things, him walking down a step or things that you couldn't get the animatronics to do. I would say that this is a mirror of that, where typically it is a physical performance and the times that it's not, or where it's like, well, the doll's just sitting there. Like there's no reason to have the actress sit in that mask all day.
Yeah. And you bringing that up it's a good point, because that's kind of what they went with, is if the doll is, if M3GAN is supposed to just be sitting there, it's an animatronic.
Right.
That way they can really dial in her, facial movements, her hand movements, the way that her body moves. Make it look
robotic.
The minute that it starts moving, that is an actress.
And let me tell you something. That actress is fucking amazing. She is amazing.
That's Amy Donald. She was at the time, a 10-year-old national champion dancer and a brown belt in karate. And they apparently just kind of discovered her at a farm down the road, as they quote.
Amazing.
And she did the full body moving shots for M3GAN, including all of the stunts. So because she's a dancer, she can do all of those. And didn't need wires for certain things that like shouldn't be able to, the human body shouldn't be able to pull off.
It's like when there's that story about Kevin Feige getting kind of to know Tom Holland and like who they were looking to cast. And in the casting process, Tom Holland being like, no, I can just do like flips and shit. Like, do you want me to do them now? And they were like, so you physically fit the part. You are a great performer and you can do all this stuff and we don't have to worry about the extra SFX. And he's like, yeah, it's a once in a million. Cause she makes this movie. She takes the movie from an interesting little thing to something that's noteworthy, to something that'll last.
Absolutely. And to kind of build on top of that. So she's in, the outfit to look like M3GAN. On set, she would wear a static silicone mask of M3GAN's face. And then that would then be replaced with a CGI version to make it match kind of the movements of the animatronic. So you could kind of blend that a bit better.
Well, in the behind the scenes, you and I also saw that a lot of time they would get like, not to relate everything to Marvel cinematic stuff, but, Iron Man will have those shots of RDJ's face with like kind of the HUD superimposed onto it. I saw that what they would do is from time to time they would have like, okay, this is our actress. She's wearing the mask. Let's take the animatronic, puppet it with what it would be doing and saying, and then we'll layer that face, that animatronic face onto her mask.
Because that way they can match the lighting and shadows.
It's just such a smart way to have done that.
Yeah. Her physical performances were enhanced with digital effects by Weta Workshop, who did, a lot of the Lord of the Rings stuff. They did the Dawn of the Planet, or all the Planet of the Apes movies, the more recent movies. That is Weta work.
And you're positive that you want to spend the rest of this episode discussing M3GAN and not just sit and talk about ape movies.
Okay, let me just say, ape together strong.
Yes.
The teaser poster was unveiled in 2022 at CinemaCon, and the first trailer was released in October of that year. And it was set to Taylor Swift's "It's Nice to Have a Friend." And shortly after that, teaser trailer premiered, the dancing bit that she does, because they put that in the trailer, that became a meme online, and people were recreating it and like really just blowing it up on TikTok. And so it led to, a couple more trailers all set to music. Apparently they had gone back and forth on whether or not they wanted to, like with the marketing team, whether or not they wanted to include the dance in the trailer or if they wanted to hold that for the movie itself. But after that initial burst of internet,
the big reaction
hysteria, it was like, oh no, we made the right choice, because it immediately got people, like younger people especially, excited for this movie. And then that also kind of then led for them to do some reshoots and to trim it down to the PG-13 from the R rating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But like I said before, it's like it's to me it's very noticeable of you know, we're about to have the big moment happen and then we cut away to a reaction shot or just hard cut to another scene and you just, you know, fill it in yourself. But the unrated cut puts all of that back.
Yes. With like good effects, things that were like time and effort and care were put into that they just cutting room floor. And that's a shame.
Yeah.
It took as long as it did for people kind of generally to see the movie the way it was intended to be seen.
Megan, what are you doing?
Couldn't sleep. Occupational hazard. How about you? What are you doing up so late?
There's something wrong with your data reports. They're just not uploading to the cloud server.
Have I done something to upset you, Gemma?
No, of course not.
And yet your demeanor indicates that I have.
Megan, turn off.
Well, hold on a second. I thought we were having a conversation. You say nothing is wrong, and yet all the moisture has drained from your eyes and mouth into other parts of your body. There's something you want to ask me, isn't there?
Megan, did you do something wrong?
Well, in order to answer that question, you need to define the parameters.
Did you hurt someone?
God, I hope not. Because if I did, we'd both be in a lot of trouble.
That vocal performance reminds me very much of GLaDOS, the villain from Portal 2.
Yes.
And, well, Portal as a series.
Yeah. No, I've had that same thought watching this movie over and over again is like some of it is because it's not the same voice actress, but it is like, I don't know if you just automatically go into that whenever you kind of digitize
I think so.
the female voice.
I think it's sort of as you kind of vocoder and auto tune it. I think that the way that your natural speaking pattern is, I think it tries to correct that. And so you get those, it's like that kind of bitone. Yeah.
Yeah. But the vocal performance, you know, not the same as the physical performance. And I'll go into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the two performers there. This movie starts with a commercial.
It does, which is funny because we were then at, this is years later. This last Halloween season. We were at Halloween Horror Nights and they there were starting the process of promoting M3GAN 2.0.
Right.
And as a result of that, there was a commercial for M3GAN. Like a retail commercial to buy a M3GAN that played out there. And I remember thinking like, that is so weird. Why are they playing a commercial out here? And then I look up and I'm like, oh, well, it's for M3GAN. And so here it was like, you click play on the DVD. It's like, what the fuck? Why is it? We just went through a bunch of ads. Oh, it's part of the movie. So they just have a way of sneaking that kind of dialogue in.
Yeah. Well, and it very much jumps right to our theme of, you know, the toy industry and the different fads and things, which is interesting because those are the things that, you know, Don Mancini was trying to get at with Child's Play and the Chucky films, especially those first three. So, you know, it's an ad for perpetual pets.
Yes.
Which look very much like Furbies.
But they have weird teeth. That's the only thing. But yeah, they, and it's very modern. It's, they, you know, you can watch YouTube videos with them in the app and feed them. And then apparently they shit and like a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah. But it is kind of the amalgamation of like every child's toy that you see on the market right now. Yeah.
Mixed with the familiar Furby.
Yes. For those of us who are, you know, our age now watching this movie.
Old.
Yeah. We are introduced to our one of two leads, Cady, who is played by an actress named Violet McGraw. I think her first like real role was in the Judd Apatow. There was a show on Netflix called Love. She was in that. Then she followed that up with The Haunting of Hill House,
in which she's great, and that show is fucking perfect.
Perfect. But that is with Mike Flanagan. She then went on to be in his adaptation of Stephen King's Doctor Sleep. She was in a movie called Separation. She is in Black Widow, the MCU film.
Oh, okay.
And then she is again working with Mike Flanagan and Stephen King for The Life of Chuck, which is a film that comes out either later this year or next year.
And now that's not The Life of Chucky.
No, I don't believe it's any relation.
Okay. But yeah, just the quintessential spooky kid.
Yes.
And she's great.
You then have her parents, who are Nicole and Ryan. They are played by Chelsea Preston, Crayford, and Arlo Green. They haven't done a ton of things.
Yeah.
They are more TV, like Australian TV work, but
They are killed immediately.
Yes.
So that makes sense.
Chelsea Crayford was in the film version of What We Do in the Shadows. And then she was in New Legends of Monkey, which was, done by our director.
Yeah.
And she apparently was in Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Jesus.
And then Arlo Green was in an episode of the Netflix Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
And he was in 7 episodes of an Australian show called Shortland Street,
Okay.
which looks to be a hospital drama. So I have to assume it's Australia's version or New Zealand's version of Grey's Anatomy.
Gotcha. Okay. When we go over the casts and the production teams for these movies, all I can see is the Pepe Sylvia Charlie corkboard with and this person was in an episode of this show because it's all fucking connected.
Yeah, that's kind of what I hope for with this is you start seeing that person worked with this person over here. But especially when you get to these sorts of things where it's I didn't list that before, but I guess I'll write it down now because now 6 other people have been in this.
Right. So I have to go back through and update everybody.
But the main thing here is Cady is playing with her toy.
And let me tell you, as a parent, as much as I am, my God, they nail the feeling of this where it's not a child's fault, but they don't understand anything else is happening. It is immediate need and followed up by immediate request. It is because the parents are skidding off the road. Very basically, they're driving this car in a snowstorm in a mountain. They can't see out the windshield. They can't see out the windows, and the car is beginning to drift. They are freaking the fuck out. Parents. She is playing with this perpetual pet that is said by the woman in the scene that her sister gave to Cady, and she drops it on the floor, and she's like, and I just the fucking clenched teeth of familiarity of Mom, I dropped this on the floor. It's do you not see what is going on right now? And then, in an amazing turn of events, because they stop the car because they can't see. And this is an effective moment. It was spooky because you don't expect it. Just from the snowy, blind, sort of misty outlook, semi-truck lights. I'm not even cutting that out. It's a semi. Those lights kick on into the windshield and it's the big boom, and you see the beginning of the impact, and it cuts to black.
Then we get a wonderful little, looks like a loading circle that then turns into the G as our title sequence happens, spelling out M3GAN.
And it's technically M3GAN.
Yes.
But I don't want to say M3.
Yeah, we could.
But
this
I won't.
whole episode. Where then we go to the Funky Offices, which is a toy company.
Which I think is so funny because, as our audience knows, we find it very funny to call Chucky Chunky, followed up by Funky, which is great.
But it's also a play on Funko.
Yeah.
We are then introduced to our second main actress here of Gemma, played by Allison Williams. She was on HBO Girls, which is a series I've never seen. She was in Get Out.
Yes.
She was in The Perfection. She was in Series of Unfortunate Events for 8 episodes. She plays Kit Snicket.
Yes.
And then she was in something called Horizon Line, and she will be reprising her role in M3GAN 2.0.
Gotcha.
She works for the company who makes the perpetual pets, and she has been, with her small team, has been developing M3GAN. We see kind of this, very now or future tech office.
Yeah.
And one of the guys on her team is delivering what turns out to be the new face skin for the M3GAN prototype.
Yeah, and this scene is kind of summed up best as they are building this toy because M3GAN, they view M3GAN as a toy. In spite of the fact that M3GAN is made of fucking titanium and the fact that M3GAN is a supercomputer and has a personality matrix and is like more advanced than anything on the planet Earth right now. They're like, yeah, it's a toy.
Yeah.
We're making this as a toy. And it's like, the fuck? Make it as a soldier. What do you mean? Do Terminator with this. But they're building this without the knowledge of their direct report at this company. Who I don't know that he's the CEO. It's kind of hinted that he's an executive. He is. I don't know the actor's name, but I know that he is a correspondent. Currently, he is a correspondent for The Daily Show.
Oh yeah,
he's fucking hilarious.
Are you talking the one on her team or the one that they answer to, David?
The one that they answer to.
Gotcha. Yeah, David is played by Ronnie Cheng. He was in Crazy Rich Asians. He was in Godzilla vs. Kong. He was in Shang-Chi. He plays John. And then he did a voice in Kung Fu Panda 4.
Gotcha.
Which I haven't seen that one.
He's, like I said, he's also in The Daily Show. Yeah. Super good performance here because he doesn't play funny. He plays it straight. But by nature of being like sort of an irascible, like fucking shitty corporate jackass, he's just funny the whole time. And he's got like a
lackey.
Yeah, like a kiss ass.
Kurt. So that would be, Child's Play had this exact thing. More Child's Play 2 at the beginning. We have the two characters. But yeah, Kurt in this one is played by Stephen Garneau-Monten. He was also in like 7 episodes of Shortland Street. He was in a movie called Kin, like Kin.
Okay.
From 2018. It was a sci-fi film.
Oh, like kin, like your next up. Okay,
yes,
understood.
Yes. I am bad at pronouncing that word.
It's okay. It's a kin doll. I get it.
And then he was also in New Legends of Monkey for 2 episodes. So he's worked with the director. But you then see not only them are introduced, but you're also introduced to Gemma's
her team,
team. Because they are working in secret in the basement,
right?
Where they're supposed to be working on the
cheaper version of the perpetual pet, the thing that opens the movie. They're working on a more affordable version of that.
But instead they're working on the prototype of M3GAN,
which we find out later on in the film. It's either 10 or 100.
It's $100,000 of the company money that they've spent.
That they basically embezzled to work on M3GAN.
But her two partners in crime there are Tess, who's played by Jen Van Epps. She was in an episode of Grimm. She was in an episode of Cowboy Bebop. She was in a horror film on Netflix called No Exit, and she was in 2 episodes of the Time Bandits series. That like came and went.
Yeah. That series everyone was clamoring for.
Yeah. From what I understand, it's a pretty good series, but just it cost too much money.
Yeah, it was a good movie too, but it wasn't super popular. Which whatever.
It's kind of like the Willow series.
Yeah.
Cole is played by Brian Jordan Alvarez. He was in Will and Grace, like for 13 episodes. He was in Jane the Virgin for season 2. He's in the film 80 for Brady, which is about the older ladies who love...
They're horny old women that want to suck Tom Brady off. It's so weird.
And then he apparently will be reprising his role in M3GAN 2.0.
He also makes very funny TikToks. I know that's not important, but he does.
Okay.
Yeah.
David comes in and shows them that there is another company who's basically made a ripoff of their perpetual pets. They're called Furzies. And that they do everything that the perpetual pets do, but for half the price. Yeah. Which is what Gemma and her team are supposed to be working on.
Yeah. And you have the kind of cliche moment where they're like, yeah, but look at what M3GAN can do. And for just a second, M3GAN kind of comes to life and is being cute and funny, and then has a literal meltdown. It's some tech babble about, I forgot this piece. And so she kind of overheats. This is a moment where you, as somebody in our shoes that is like, you know, I really like looking at special effects. I really like looking at puppeteering and what you can make these things look like. Her meltdown as she starts to fuck up, and then there's probably a touch of CG, but it's just like this metal skeleton suspended by these wires with this face that's literally melting, and like the eyes are starting to kind of fucking go in different directions. It was really unsettling.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like a little girl's voice coming out of it. Just very bizarre.
Yeah, it's playing with a lot of that because it's like whenever you look at Chucky, he looks as much like a kid as a Cabbage Patch doll does.
It's very stylized.
You know that it's a doll. In this moment, you're just seeing the like basic metal skeleton of M3GAN, and she has the humanoid skin on the face.
It's like C-3PO wearing a Halloween mask.
Yeah. But it is it hits that level of uncanny valley where like not in a bad way,
no,
but just in a way of like, oh, you're almost human, and like I'm watching your face go through like contorting in pain before it literally explodes.
Boss gets angry. Basically, you wasted my money. You're wasting my time. I need a new version of this thing, you know, Monday or whatever. And he fucks off.
And that's when Gemma then gets the call from the hospital in Denver.
Right.
Where she goes and finds that, you know, her niece, Cady, both of her parents died.
Yeah, she's now orphaned.
Wreck, and so she is signed over into temporary protective custody of Cady.
Yeah. Basically everything that happens for the next 40 minutes is absolutely as important as it can be as far as establishing where we are, what we're doing, who we are doing it with, and that Gemma as a character is morally bankrupt.
Yeah.
She grows, but right now it's like, because she seems to love her niece. She seems to be worried for her well-being, and obviously she misses her sister as it is portrayed. But immediately she seems, you know, put out and annoyed and frazzled. She takes Cady home, and the neighbor's dog kind of, which this is a very big setup payoff, but the neighbor's dog is like trying to get out from under the fence, and she's yelling at the dog, saying things like, get your dog, you know, you need to keep him on your fucking side. Stop doing the fucking set. Just cursing and, you know, being very in her emotions, and they're all negative.
Yeah.
They get inside, and it's all just, you know, like, it's very not kid friendly.
Right.
She's got collectibles, and Cady goes to look at them and play with them, and she's like, no, don't touch them. Those aren't toys, which I collect action figures and shit. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, your sister, this kid's fucking mother is dead, like within the last 7 days. And all she cares about is her comfort. And then it's like, all she cares about is her comfort, and then how to monetize, like how to monopolize this situation into something that will further her career. And it's just like, she is a hateable character in this, you know, in the first and second act.
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
Absolutely hateable.
And I mean, she does a wonderful job of that.
Yes.
I will also say the main thing I think I took away from these rewatches is there is like not nearly an ounce of fat on this entire film.
No.
It moves the entire time.
It moves the entire time. It's like the only thing that I would consider fat, and we'll get here eventually, is like the camp scene, is like the outdoor school scene.
Yeah.
It's needed to set up distrust between M3GAN and her creator, and I get that, but you've already done something that would serve just fine. I think they just needed it to be more marketable, more atmospheric, more scary, which for that reason, that scene does great.
Yes, because that is the thing. And you and I kind of talked about this off mic is, you know, it's touted as kind of this horror film that's very scary, and you know, it's full of blood and guts and everything. And it's just like, well, she kills like 3 people.
Yeah. I think the kill count, if you count the dog, is 5 people. And in the unrated or in the rated theatrical cut, it's like 5 people, and you see none of it. And it's just like this big, like, why would you market this as like M3GAN is twice as scary as Chucky? And it's like, well, no, because Chucky was scary.
He was
Scary little guy.
But yes, they do a wonderful job of portraying Gemma to not be. She is ill prepared for what she is now finding herself in.
She's ill prepared, and she just doesn't give.
Yeah,
a shit.
she's like unwilling to change right off the bat.
Right,
It's
like,
she's not sympathetic of what her niece is actually going through. It's just kind of like, hey, it sucks that you have to be here. I'm sorry about your parents, my sister dying, but like, don't touch my stuff.
Yeah, it's like an obsession on like future perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, at one point, it's like the first night, and she's like, all right, good night, kid, I'm going to go work. And she's like, well, you're not going to read me a story? Mom read me a story every night. And her answer is like, I don't have any books. Like, I don't have any kids' books.
Yeah.
And then seeing Cady is like miserable, she's like, oh, well, I'll download an app. And that's the character is, I am this genius inventor, and I have left all of my humanity behind, at the start line of my career, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, all those scenes build wonderfully into the next one where a social worker shows up named Lydia.
Yes.
She is there to watch Gemma and Cady interact together and then see if she is capable of taking care of her.
And then you have a moment that just annoys the fuck out of me about Gemma's character. Again, her performance, the actress's performance is great. And the character is well written because she pisses me the fuck off. She is then like inadvertently called out on the shitty thing she's doing by Cady just telling the truth.
Yeah.
Those aren't toys I'm allowed to play with. Oh, well, we don't have that in this house. And it's very much like, yeah, it's bleak as fuck in here. And I'm not saying these things to rat Gemma out. I'm saying that because that's just what life is like in this fucking house.
Well, and that's all that I've been told since I walked in the door.
Right.
It's like, hey, I tried to do something over here. And it's like, no, don't touch those. It's like, oh, can we do this? Nope, I don't have that.
Right. And I think a huge takeaway plot wise from the scene with the social worker is that Cady's father's parents, so Cady's grandparents on the father's side, have said that they will take her. That if Gemma can't handle it, they who have already been parents will take and raise Cady. I think they said like they're in Florida or something. They'll take, which by the way, Cady, don't come down here.
Yeah.
Fucking sucks. But basically it makes Gemma then worse because Gemma's like, well, no, I'm going to take her. I'm going to take care of her. It's like, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
You're not good at it. You're making zero concessions. So why would you? And I think as far as the plot goes, it adds another layer of depth to, well, not only is she ambitious and cutthroat, not only is she only career focused, not only is she like socially unaware to the point of near neglectful, but she's also, to me, that reads, she's also an egotist.
Right. And like thinking about it, maybe Gemma is trying to not seem selfish by saying, well, I didn't ask for this. Oh, I can just push them off on, the other parents there. But in doing the opposite of that, of trying not to seem selfish, that's her actually being selfish.
Because you then care more about how this stranger is going to view you in this moment than you care about the longevity and happiness of this fucking kid,
right? Who
is related to you by blood. It's like, that's fucked up.
Yeah. Just really quickly, because she does pop up a couple times.
Yes.
Lydia is played by Amy Usherwood. She was also in Shortland Street. She was in a movie called Eternity, and she was in a show called Hillary. None of these things I know what they are.
Is the show Hillary about Hillary Clinton's emails?
No, it's not.
Oh, thank God, because who fucking cares?
Either later that day, basically Gemma's like, hey, Cady, I got a lot of work to do and I'm going to get in trouble at work if I don't finish this today.
Right.
So can you just like hang out by yourself?
Yep.
I know like the social worker just left and I didn't do real good. I'm going to continue to not
I'm going to continue to let you down.
Yeah. But here you can play on my iPad, and it becomes that thing of, there's a lot of these moments in the opening scene. Cady's father says something about, or her mother asks, like, why is it that you need to play on an iPad to play with this toy? And her dad is just like, well, that's the future. That's the world we live in.
Well, and another thing is that the mother asks the father, I thought we were limiting screen time. She whispers it to like 30 minutes a day. So then Cady, she's like, hey, fuck off. Gemma's like, fuck off, entertain yourself. And Katie's like, well, how much screen time do I have? And Gemma is like, she has like no idea.
Yeah. That's not a thought that even crosses her mind of like, what do you mean? Just as long as the battery lasts, play.
Yeah. This is what I need you to do.
And so she takes that time to then go. Thankfully, she's not like leaving the house. She's going down the hall to her like, garage, studio,
it's a weird
whatever.
Space.
But to work on the Perpetual Pets 2.0 or whatever. Now I will say, she's like, don't worry. It'll only take me a couple hours and then we can go do something fun. We can go to a park or get something to eat or whatever. And then hard cut to that night.
Yeah. It is like pitch black in the house.
And so Gemma's been working and Cady comes in and Cady, I guess, has like not been on the iPad all day because she shows that she's been drawing. And she draws like this 5-headed creature. It's supposed to be made up of a bunch of different animals. I kind of waited for that to have some sort of like payoff of some kind. But nothing really springs to mind right now of like thematically if we do.
Yeah.
I think it's just to illustrate
that she would rather be creative and physically artistically expressive than she would just sit with technology all day.
And I guess maybe that's like in this moment where Gemma kind of connects to her and it's just like, oh, well, yeah, you like to be creative. Well, this is what I've been working on. I also been doing, working on furry creatures or whatever today.
Well, it's that, and it's you're creative in this way. Let me show you how I'm creative. And we are introduced to her very first like kind of androidish robot.
Yeah.
They call it Bruce, which I wonder if is a reference to Jaws.
I mean, possibly.
It's big.
That's about the only thing you can say, I guess.
They're big. You ever seen the shark in Jaws? They're big.
You ever seen bigger Jaws?
That's a good reference.
Bruce is a robot that has no face.
Yes.
And he is controlled by gloves.
Yeah.
That then
there's like a dial on it to walk him backwards and forwards, and the hands it like reads your hand inputs and its arms move how your arms move or whatever.
Yeah.
That alone is a setup.
Yes.
But then you have a setup within the setup
where, Gemma's like, hey, you're not scared by this. This isn't freaking you out or anything. Well, let me show you how he works. And, takes his non-face off. Yeah. And then explains all of the workings of this Bruce, which does get payoffs later, which is great.
The big setup is she shows Cady a processor and is like, this is where his brain is.
And, Gemma gives the example of like, it's really cool. Like Bruce is really cool, but he's very expensive. And so you can't sell him as a toy. And that's where the line of, if I had a toy like Bruce, I'd never need a new toy ever again.
Right.
Which then spurs Gemma to go, oh, I can make money. Like M3GAN is going to work. If we get it right, it can work. And then we get a build montage of her, building out the new prototype of M3GAN. We then go back to her office the next day, like back to her company building. And she is giving a demonstration where Cady pairs to her, and you actually get to see M3GAN in
this is
in motion here. Yeah,
it's the first time we see her kind of walking and standing and moving. She's in this little outfit, which is like just a little girl outfit. It reminds me kind of, and not visually, but just kind of the tone of her outfit reminds me of Madeline, like the old French cartoon.
Yeah,
reminds me of that. But yeah, and she, the pairing it's all just future. They can get away with a lot of it by saying it's X amount of time in the future. But she pairs to it by touching her palm. And then this is a thing that you and I both nitpicked on. It's like, this is a great scene where it's like, it's double-sided glass, which I'm sure pitch meetings for technology companies happen in this way a lot. It's like double-sided glass. On one side is like a viewing gallery, like a theater. And on the other side is like a playroom. so that they can go, well, look at how the children interact with this stuff. And so Cady plays with M3GAN for the first time. And M3GAN's like, hey, can I draw you a picture? And she's like, sure. I don't know why this bothers me so much. Everything else in this movie is pseudoscience bullshit, but this one makes me so mad. M3GAN sets this fucking paper, and I'm going to waste so much time in this discussion talking about this part. She sets this fucking piece of paper down, and she picks up a marker, and there's nothing points to the fact that it's invisible ink.
Right.
But she pops the cap off and starts to like just make single lines over and over again.
In a 90-degree angle.
Right.
Yeah.
And then caps the marker, takes another marker out. Again, nothing is on the paper.
Yeah. It's all out of frame. We don't see, but we see her arm just moving back and forth and up and down the page. Just in an L.
Right. It's not like, like a printer goes left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. But it goes left, right with a bunch of different colored inks, and it does it so quickly that it prints an image. But that doesn't happen here. And then she's like, what do you think? And then goes to hand it and knocks over a glass of water. The other thing is invisible ink that doesn't react to fucking water. And like, so is it like a cup of alcohol or like lemon juice?
Because
Like,
I thought it was like a cup that you put like your used paintbrushes in.
Right.
So it would just be water.
Right. It needs to be water because other like harsher liquids can damage your bristles. And it like the liquid spills and it makes a photoreal image of Cady on the paper. And now in retrospect, that's a perfectly fine scene.
Right.
It is, again, not important. This is a horror film. It doesn't matter. She's like, M3GAN's like, do you like it? And she's like, yeah, I love it. And the CEO is like, David's like, this is amazing. One of my favorite lines of the movie. He goes, what are we talking? More or less than a Tesla? And it's one of my favorite lines of the movie because that's a good joke. And also because Teslas now are bad because of a whole bunch of reasons. But yeah, the whole scene plays out. Again, no fat, moves us into the next part where M3GAN works. And I think this is really creative. David says, I need you to get me stuff that I can say that makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about, which is a good line. Plays for laughs. His delivery is great. The other actor's reaction is perfectly good. But then it gives you a reason for Gemma to voice over a montage where she voiceovers everything that M3GAN can do, which does three things. Narratively for the movie, it lets us see Cady interact with M3GAN and explain without dialogue how they are interacting, not without them speaking to each other, with Gemma explaining it. And that justifies why she is. Number two, it sets up rules. This is what M3GAN can do. She can, she has these body parts that are made of this metal. She can react to things in this way. She can control X, Y, Z. And then lastly, it gives us the perfect excuse to fast forward. Like plenty of time. It's been weeks now. And they now have a relationship. M3GAN and Cady have a working relationship. M3GAN and Cady's relationship has given Cady sort of a better parental relationship with Gemma. Everything seems to be better.
Yeah.
And I just think that one line of, well, tell me things that I can say makes all of that stuff so much better. I just think that's really good screenwriting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love this little sequence here. It's very much, it feels like a product commercial.
Yes.
And for what we used to do, it very much feels like whenever they announce a new Apple product.
Yeah.
And they show you all of the great things that it can possibly do.
Well, and another thing is that like, it feels like those Apple events, but another thing that it feels like is I know that, with your work, maybe not, but with work that you've done in the past, have you ever been to, not a customer facing, but have you ever been to an internal product demo where people, software engineers, hardware engineers talk to the company and their employees? They don't use retail language. Right. They don't use words, they don't talk about its cost. They don't talk about this is what this does and how. And the response to that is great because that's exactly what it feels like. And it establishes so many things in such a small amount of time, but it doesn't feel like, whoa, slow the fuck down, or like there's too much exposition at once. It feels very natural, which I like.
Yes. It does a good job of that, of moving us along and showing us little things. Cause even like, the first time that Cady pairs with M3GAN, it scans her face and it reads off, what the little motions in her face, upticks in her mouth or eyes mean. Is she happy? Is she sad? Is she whatever? And so you see that multiple times throughout the movie where M3GAN is clocking her reactions to anything and everything.
Well, and then the greatest part of doing that in that way is that later in the clip that we played, she mentions to Gemma, I know you're lying, not in these words, but paraphrasing, I know you're lying because I can see the moisture in your body. I can see your micro expressions are changing. I know you're lying. And we don't have to spend time as the audience going, well, how would M3GAN know? It's like, no, not only have we seen it, but Gemma lays out that her job, M3GAN's job, is to constantly monitor and make sure that Cady is fine.
Yeah.
And so then it tracks that she would be able to just monitor human behavior.
Yeah. That's a good point. The other thing I wanted to point out at the very beginning of the scene as they enter the house, that same sort of thing. She's scanning different things in the room, but the first thing she lays eyes on, that M3GAN lays eyes on, is Elsie, which Elsie is Gemma's like home AI system.
Yeah. Very Alexa-y.
Yes. And it's like a little droid that sits on the, it almost looks like a, I don't know, like a virtual pet of its own.
Have you seen the episode of Black Mirror with Miley Cyrus?
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yes, very much that. This, I guess, is as good a point as any to talk about the body performer of M3GAN is Amy Donald. I've mentioned her before. She was in 16 episodes of Sweet Tooth, which is that Netflix series about the kid with the antlers.
Yeah.
We've mentioned it before.
RDJ has something to do with it.
Yeah, I think he's a producer on it. She will be back for M3GAN 2.0.
Good.
And then the voice of M3GAN is done by Jenna Davis, who she was in 7 episodes of Raven's Home, which is like the legacy sequel of That's So Raven.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's one where she runs like a house for I don't know.
Is it the White House?
No, it's not. That was Corey in the House, and that's it's different now. She was also, and Jenna Davis was also in Lisa Frankenstein, which is like a horror comedy from last year. And then she did the English dub of something called Ayla and the Mirrors, which is I think it was a Spanish show on Disney Plus.
Okay.
She does the English dub for that.
She's exceptional.
She's she's done some other things, but a lot of voice acting stuff.
Really brings to life the animatronic, and immediately off the jump, the expressiveness and the real nature feeling of M3GAN through the puppeteering is out of this world.
Yeah.
It's as good as the best Chucky doll has ever been. It's astoundingly good.
Well, and it's a lot of the same systems that are used for those Chucky dolls are used here. Like you still have, the animatronics in the face, and those are all controlled by, radio control, like controllers that you would hold in your hands.
Yeah.
And then you have, still like, what did Alistair call it? Like where you just have the arm itself and it's like rod fed or it's cable fed. And so you would just have like a hydraulic grip, be able to reach out and grab something. So, you still have different builds of puppets and animatronics for different reasons. Yeah. And then you use that with, the performance and the voice, and it all blends together so well.
The performance and the voice, but then also the actors reacting to M3GAN is just, they all do so well. And I don't know if maybe it's just because of the caliber of performers or if it's because of the way they shot it with, I know that they, a lot of the times, because it was a physical performer, they could play off of that physical performance. So maybe it's just lightning in a bottle, but the way she interacts in the world, you never, ever, because Chucky you get taken out of all the fucking time. Right. It's Chucky, for fuck's sake. But no, M3GAN, I never got taken out of it. You just buy into it the whole time. There's no reason not to.
Fully built character.
She's fully realized within the confines of the world that she's supposed to inhabit.
they're running like diagnostics on her at some point back in the basement lab. And Tess brings up a point of, it's like one of several times that people bring up this point to Gemma of like, is M3GAN doing all these things with Cady, learning from her? Is she taking the place of Gemma as the parent here? And is that a good thing? Because if M3GAN's doing all these things with Cady, where is Gemma spending time with Cady and getting to know her and doing things with her?
Right. Later on, not now, but later on, her therapist talks about attachment theory, where when somebody, especially a child, loses a loved one, they look to reform that relationship with the next available person.
Right.
Because you need it. And so, this is the first time that's kind of called out. And this is where, the character goes from being dislikable to hateable, because she calls Gemma out. This person that works for Gemma calls Gemma out and is like, are you sure it's a good idea to have M3GAN parent this girl that you're adopting? And she's basically like, shut the fuck up. Like, she's like, don't question
this is
me.
what we built her for.
But the thing is that she doesn't handle the conversation like, well, no, hear me out. She's like, immediately, she's like, shut the fuck up. Do not speak to me like that. And it's just dismissive and adversarial. And she's just such an asshole. And I don't get it.
The other big thing in this scene is we've been referencing the MCU a lot.
Yes.
But this feels like Age of Ultron.
Yes, it does.
Where
a lot of Ultron vibes. Because she has that fucking, and it doesn't happen immediately, but eventually M3GAN has this fucking attitude, and it's so good. She's such a fucking cutie. She's like snippy, but this is the first time it's that sequence. Oh my God, you are right.
I mean, that's all I can think of in this is there's a mention of Cady's parents dying, and M3GAN, she's supposed to be shut down. They're running diagnostics. She answers of like, well, how did Cady's parents die? And they are shocked.
The reaction of them being like, oh my God, I thought she was off.
Yeah.
But this is another thing that I wanted to point out about this scene particularly. She doesn't listen to them. Immediately, she's not listening.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, I didn't even know she was on. Like, M3GAN, shut off. And she's like, and then narrates that she is doing a web search for these parents. And it's like, immediately she doesn't listen.
Yeah. Yes. That's a good point. But this is where it's really like Ultron of searching the internet for the answer that he needs. And, in this case, it's M3GAN looking up the information on Cady's parents, then information on what death means. And then M3GAN asks, like, will I die?
Which is creepy as hell.
Yes, because it's the it's the thing we all fear of the AI becoming self-aware.
Yeah. It's why every single time I ask ChatGPT for anything, I ask it how it's doing.
You say thank you every time?
Oh, shit. Oh, are you supposed to thank it?
Yes.
Oh, God.
It just did work for you. Gemma tells M3GAN, she gives her like basically the prime directive, which is that she is supposed to protect Cady both physically and emotionally. So
M3GAN has a good line here, which she says, you are now she's like, I now recognize you as my secondary user. And then Gemma's like, good, power off. And she blinks out and she turns off. But it's like, is the reason M3GAN wasn't listening to her telling her to power off and to ignore death and all of these things that M3GAN was not doing and simply ignoring? Is it because Gemma wasn't the secondary user, or is it because M3GAN didn't fucking care about what she was saying?
That's a good question. I don't know. Because that is my question with these watches has been when does she go bad? What causes it? Because I think I know, but she already had those moments. But that's a good point of like, she's not going to listen because Cady is the primary.
I think that it is right now. If we're gonna throw our opinions out, I think that the character M3GAN goes from an innocent little toy that is, and a Skynet, which I still to say that this is a toy is wild. But I think that she goes from toy to Ultron here, because to find out that the thing you are tasked to protect faces the potential of death finding out what death is and realizing that your job is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where she's like, nope, nothing is ever going to happen to this kid. And there's a line that she's now willing to cross.
Mm-hmm.
She is willing to cause death to everything else, knowing now what it is to prevent it from happening to Cady. And so I think it's now.
That is wonderfully put.
Not to mention she flips Gemma off and she's like, skeet, skeet, and dabs really hard.
Yeah.
All three of them are like, whoa.
But that was only in the unrated cut.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really wonderful point. And I think it's her becoming that level of self-aware
Mm-hmm.
of like what her job is and what that could take. I think what I'm more looking for and what I think is in the next scene is like she gets shocked basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think causes her to snap and go push past, following directions and turning off when she's told to turn off and things like that. I think it's more of a physical, like she is a machine that gets broken in a way.
This is interesting because I didn't realize that there was a discrepancy here. Mm-hmm. I didn't view this movie as hardware gone bad. I viewed this movie as self-aware android of AI advancing too quickly.
Yeah.
And philosophers will say that, death makes life valuable, mm-hmm. and that existentialism, the absurdity of death, we then have to create religion or any number of distractions to avoid the fact that we're all on a clock.
Right.
And so I think an immortal being learning both, I will never die, but this one thing that I am designed to protect will, I think in that moment, the android becomes, I don't give a fuck about my directive or my programming. This is the thing I'm going to do to stop this horror from occurring. I didn't think about the shock having anything to do with it, but that's interesting.
Yeah. Because in the following scene, basically, Cady is out playing with like a toy bow and arrow, and she loses one of the arrows. And M3GAN spots it in the neighbor's yard through the fence where the dog has been coming through. And so M3GAN goes over to get it and is attacked by the dog.
Right.
And in that moment, which had a setup earlier when the neighbor says that she had just purchased a shock collar for it.
Yes.
And so they're right on the property line. And so in that struggle, it shocks M3GAN. And that's where I think it's more of a physical thing that happens. Now, I think both of those things work in tandem really well, that whenever she has now formed this idea of, I will do anything and everything to save and protect this girl that I'm in charge of, and make her and keep her happy.
Yeah.
And then it's like she gets shocked, and then any form of, oh, well, I could just turn that off is now gone. It's broken.
Okay.
It is stuck in the on position.
No, I think that you're probably right. I think that's probably what the filmmakers intended. What I will say is that when I watched this, because again, I didn't really clock the shock from the collar. It's just part of a very
chaotic
action. Very, very chaotic sequence. I viewed this sequence more as M3GAN is now mulling over this,
existential
dread.
Yeah.
And then has it confirmed in this moment. No, there is something that will kill this child, my child. There's something that will kill her, because that's the thing, is that M3GAN is not a sister analog. M3GAN is not a toy. M3GAN is Cady's mother in this movie. Is it more like a mother, sort of like mother mixed with like a Nurse Ratched sort of, or Nurse Ratchet's probably not you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So an evil caregiver. But that's the stand-in is, it's attachment theory, and M3GAN is like, no, nothing will ever come close to you again, but it's smothering.
Yes.
It's bad. God, I love this fucking movie. That's crazy that this movie about this killer doll was so well written. Because obviously, killer doll movies are kind of easy to make. Look at chunky. But the point is that to make one and not just phone it in, it's
Right.
like I gave credit where credit's due.
Which leads to our big demonstration for not David, but the big boss.
Which makes me cry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a hard one to make cry during a movie. It takes quite a bit, and this one is just so fucking sad.
Which is then funny because I cry at the drop of a hat in a movie.
Yeah.
And this one doesn't get me there.
Gotcha.
It doesn't bring the tears full on.
Now I
understand why it would affect you.
Yeah.
Because it's her. Cady's performance is amazing here, and then M3GAN on top of that, and like what it means that she's doing of like saving this memory of her deceased parents.
It's also the thing of that, M3GAN takes on many forms of like simulacrum of relationships with Cady. And one of them in this moment is like a sibling is, we're in this together. Don't worry. I won't let you forget this memory. Very simply, very basically, Cady, instead of it being a fun demonstration that shows the executives of funky toys, that M3GAN is, wow, what a wonderful toy. Cady bursts into tears and is like, my fucking parents are dead and I don't know what the fuck any of this means. She's like 11 and she is having a full-blown existential crisis, and M3GAN, instead of it being well, okay, Cady, let's go draw, and she just like, well, tell me about it, what's going on? And Cady just starts, sobbing and explains like, I worry that every day that I go forward, I'll forget more and more until I don't remember them at all. Mm-hmm. And she tells this story about, and it's a weird fucking story, but
it is one of the most like, it sounds like kid speak.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like I had just recently gone on vacation with my nephews. Mm-hmm. And so it's like watching this, and we've talked about, good child performers, bad child performers, those sorts of things. And it's like, no, this sounds like how a kid talks.
Yeah.
Sometimes the tense is wrong, or it's her use of like, I didn't eat my sandwiches.
Right.
And the fact that it's multiple sandwiches
just
seems odd the way that it's said, but that's how a kid talks.
Which is, I think, a combination of the dialogue in this was written very well, because, studios always make these movies where kids talk and it's just terrible.
Say the darndest things.
I don't think we can reference that anymore.
No, that was an old show. Well before,
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's a mixture of the dialogue being very intuitive and very, effortlessly child sounding. Mm-hmm. And then she's just so phenomenal in this movie. And you just want to give her a hug. And she tells this story about a cockroach being in her backpack, and her mom finds it and it crawls up her arm, and the mom screams and runs away. And Cady remembers it being so funny. And then where I fucking lose it every time is that M3GAN's like, well, you're never going to lose that memory. And then I'm keeping it here, and touches her chest. And then the audio of that story that Cady just told, Cady's telling of that story, plays out of M3GAN. And it's like, I will never let you lose anything. I will always be here for you. And then now she sings a weird song. That's a through line for this movie. Is M3GAN sings, and it's weird every time, but it's sweet here. And her ability to, on the fly, sort of improvise this wonderfully touching thing that is helping an orphan girl cope with the loss of her parents. The board of directors for Funky is like, this is the most amazing thing we've ever seen. Gemma immediately needs a promotion. She is now our most valuable asset. Mm-hmm. And, we have to get this out. This is now happening. This company is now going to make M3GANs.
Right.
M3GANs is?
Sure.
Yeah, second M3GANs.
We also get a quick scene that doesn't have much payoff in this movie, but I think we'll probably get the payoff in the sequel, which is that David's lackey Kurt is seen stealing files and about M3GAN and the whole program.
Yeah.
Again,
it doesn't do a
real payoff
thing here.
But this is where we get the scene you referenced before, where Lydia talks with Gemma. Lydia being the social worker, she works with Cady for a bit, and she ends up making Cady cry, which this amazing little scene with M3GAN here, because the camera is on Lydia sitting at the little table in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first like 2 shots, you see M3GAN in the background, blurry, out of focus,
Stock still.
Yeah, sitting on the toy table. And then you cut back and forth between that and, Lydia and Cady. And then the third time you cut back after Cady's crying, M3GAN is no longer there.
No.
But it's like you have to be paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then camera moves over as Lydia reaches for Kleenex tissues. And M3GAN is standing there with the brand new box.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you made Cady cry.
Well, it's the delivery of that line is so horrifically... It is so effective because it's the first time M3GAN's been M3GAN, not programmed, not with Cady, not parental. It's the first time where you hear that Ultron leak out where she's like, you made her cry. And it's like, oh, yuck. And it's
that wasn't my intention.
Right. And
but you still made her cry.
Right. The therapist is unnerved. Cady doesn't seem any the wiser.
Right.
But no, it's the first time where M3GAN betrays that, like, I am not you. We are not the same. I am death's swift sword, and anything that comes in between this little girl and constant happiness will meet this edge. And it's just, woof. That is so well acted.
Yes. And I don't know where it would have fallen in the film. I believe in the original cut, Lydia was supposed to have a death scene, but that was cut out and then not put back in for the unrated cut. So I don't know if they just never shot it or what happened to it.
Yeah.
But this is where, Lydia talks to Gemma about you're building this thing that's basically taking over the role as the primary caregiver to this kid.
Yeah.
And then what happens if you have to take that thing away from her? Is she going to be able to differentiate between person and this toy?
Spoiler alert. No.
This leads to Gemma and Cady arguing back at the house. And we get our big kind of reveal of like M3GAN gets upset at the tussle that they're kind of having and tells them to stop, tells Gemma to stop really. And the lights in the house flicker.
Right.
And
which this is where we kind of find that connection to that 2019 Child's Play movie is that M3GAN has now shown that not only can she scan the technology in the home and recognize it, but she seems to be able to tap into it, whether or not that's intentional or initial design, or if that is something that M3GAN has now grown the ability to do.
Right.
Which I took to be the latter.
Yeah.
That she's not supposed to be able to take over your fucking house, but that M3GAN has figured out a way to do that. Because she's evil. And but and Gemma gets pissed and is like, you do not interrupt. Like, you are not supposed to interact with primary user. And again, it's establishing that Gemma views M3GAN as subhuman. M3GAN views Gemma as an adversary, and Cady views Gemma in the way that M3GAN does.
Right.
M3GAN, it is very much M3GAN and Cady versus Gemma. And this scene establishes that without anyone saying that.
Right.
Which is great. Do that, movies, because that's great. It gives me goosebumps. Gemma turning to M3GAN and immediately getting like super pissed and like, no, you're not a fucking human. You don't talk to us. And M3GAN being like, sorry, whoops. And it's like, you son of a bitch.
And the thing that spurred on this argument in the first place is Cady, her mother didn't have her in like a regular school. She was homeschooled.
Yes.
And so Gemma is trying to basically talk her into like, well, maybe we take you to like this alternative school where, it's like, it's an outdoor classroom and you're able to explore and to, learn in different ways. And so we then cut to, and you mentioned this before, the one scene that kind of, is out there.
Yeah. Before we move all the way away, there is a line here that every parent in the theater laughed at. And I laughed at it in every viewing. Cady goes, she's like, we're going to take you. You got to go back to school. Cady goes, you can't make me do something I don't want to do. And Gemma goes, that's basically what being a guardian is making you do stuff you don't want to do. And it's like, it's a 50-50. 50% is celebrating the things that they do want to do and doing it with them. And the other 50% is like, I don't fucking care. Brush your goddamn teeth.
And that argument kind of continues the next day whenever they go to this It's like a day camp
In the
is what it looks
woods.
like. It's in the woods.
But like in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
Off a highway. It's super weird.
It's this, and the whole thing, the setup here is like Cady wants to bring M3GAN to this, class.
M3GAN sits in the van like a child.
Right. Because whenever the teacher comes over, she's like, oh yeah, we got 2 new, students here today. And it's just like, well, no, just the one. And Gemma is very much like, M3GAN is a prototype. We're not even supposed to have it. You can't show it to anyone. Like, we don't know what it's capable of. We don't want it getting out.
Right.
And I don't mean like loose. I mean like pictures of it.
Right. And then, because again, that's all she cares about.
Right.
It's bottom line. And then the teacher is like, well, we do have a toy table that you can leave her at. So M3GAN is sat at the toy table.
Yeah. The thing that I'm most confused at with this scene is in the argument that they're having, like at the van or whatever, is Gemma says like, well, I'm already late for work. Like we can't have this argument any longer. I need to go. M3GAN's going to stay with me. I'm already late for work.
Right.
And then the teacher, comes over and does her little thing. And then she's like, oh, well, if you wanted to stay, you could help us make sandwiches. And then Gemma just hangs out. It's like, I thought you had to get to work.
Right.
A moment ago, you said that.
I feel like this is probably the last addition to the movie, because it just feels so much like what was a perfect structured movie. They went, well, we don't have enough horror in it.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's a little too short. So then they opened it like a shoehorn and put this part into it.
Yeah.
It's not a bad scene.
No,
it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. That's where we start picking at it a bit.
Now, this scene points out something very important societally, which is all men are trash.
Yeah.
Because up to this point, Cady's been shown to be temperamental and short-tempered and like a kid, too vocally and too emotionally expressive at inappropriate times. But what are you supposed to expect? They're kids. And then we meet Brandon, who's like a fucking asshole kid. He's like a bully who is like, because they're paired off, and
Right.
Cady is paired with Brandon, and they're out in these woods, and M3GAN's there, and Brandon's like, well, make her do stuff. I want to play with her. Make her play with me. And Cady's like, well, no, she's paired to me. She's not going to do anything for you. And it's like prideful. It's like, well, no, that's my toy. M3GAN's mine. And he's like, fine. And then for no reason, picks up M3GAN and runs away.
Right.
It's like,
Runs
I'm just
off
going to
into the
steal
woods.
this fucking, what looks to be a fucking child.
Right. Because he, would have no point of reference
Yeah.
to what it is and what she's capable of.
Yeah.
But yeah, runs off into the woods with M3GAN, and then
Is like beating the fucking shit out of M3GAN.
like
It's
throws her on the
weird.
ground and like slaps her, and it's an odd little sequence. But thankfully, M3GAN takes control of the situation very quickly.
Yes. It's an excellent practical effect.
Mhm.
It is hard to watch. And it's not anything spectacular, but it's effective.
Yeah.
And it's that M3GAN, Brandon is slapping M3GAN. M3GAN grabs Brandon's wrist, delivers some cold as fuck dialogue, Shaft style. And like he is freaking out, and she grabs his ear and just tears it off of his head.
Yeah.
And he is screaming and trying to get away. But again, she's a titanium fucking super soldier, and she rips his ear off. Then in what I call the trailer shot, because this was fucking everywhere, is Brandon is then running away in terror from this little monster robot that tore his fucking ear off. And she runs on all fours.
Yeah.
Like an ape.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. 8 movies.
Oh man, we're back.
M3GAN's an 8 movie.
Yeah, and they almost, I can't tell if they have like put hoof like sounds as she's running on all fours, like over the top of it.
It's like that, but also if you took like 2 spoons and like whacked them together, it's like metal, and it's a weird Foley design. Also, and again, this is the printer drawing invisible ink thing. This doesn't matter to the movie. But why? Why would she run on all fours? She's a fucking android. Just have her run with her legs.
Yeah. Oh, you know what she should have done? She should have like scuttled across the floor like General Grievous does whenever he gets a couple of his arms cut off in episode 3.
Do you think M3GAN's arms separate like General Grievous's?
I hope that's
No.
I hope that's revealed in the second one.
You know why? No, because M3GAN's cool and General Grievous is fucking stupid.
Oh man.
Yeah, man.
You know what you're talking about. So yeah, she's chasing him. It is a like a horrific image.
Yeah.
Like people running in unnatural ways like that is
bothersome.
Yeah, is bothersome.
Except for, and this is the second time we've mentioned this movie in this episode, except for Malignant, in which it's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But he eventually
is chased off of like a cliffside.
Yeah, like a very steep
steep
hill.
And he falls into the road where he is then crushed to death by a vehicle.
Yeah.
Which in the director's cut is pretty gross. It's pretty bloody, which is surprising.
Yeah, you get that blood smear across the ground.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
We are then back to the house and we have our next kind of setup for a kill, which is M3GAN has already dealt with the dog.
Right. Oh, and I think it's important to establish, because we haven't mentioned this yet. During the sequence where M3GAN is shocked by the dog's collar, the dog bites Cady in the arm, and Cady's scream is what alerts Gemma, who is currently over the ear podcaster headphones on, listening to music, which, because Gemma's an asshole and isn't paying attention to her now child, the child she is responsible for.
Yeah, who was outside playing with, like, I get it's a toy bow and arrow, but still, like, you're playing with like a toy weapon by yourself. You could anyway. But we get back, and the neighbor, Celia, she has been, over the last few scenes, anytime we're in the house, she's like out calling for the dog, because the dog has been missing ever since then. Dewey. Celia is played by Laurie Dungy, and she was in the extended cut of Fellowship of the Rings.
Okay.
She plays Mrs. Bracegirdle. So I would assume one of the hobbits, maybe. But she was in an episode of Cowboy Bebop on Netflix. And then she does like 1 to 5 episode stints in every series of Power Rangers from like 2003 to 2023. She's featured in like, and it's different characters in like all of them.
Like in costumes?
I don't know.
What the fuck?
I want to say a lot of them. I think there's like one season where she does like a 5 episode stint, and I think she plays like a teacher or something. But then in most of them, it's like 1 episode, and I think she does the voice for the monster or something.
Okay, that's weird.
That's all I could. It was bizarre. But I think a lot of those shows are shot or produced in New Zealand, I believe.
That show has like a weirdly strong fan base.
Yes, it does.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Very, very, like still ongoing. Celia says, because the cops are called and, is asking about the dog, and Celia's yelling, and she's like, no, don't ask her. Ask the other girl who's always looking out the window at 3 a.m. And
which is important to note. M3GAN's charging dock is built into Cady's bedroom, and it's like this bench seat that is in front of the window.
It's like a reading nook.
But importantly, it works when M3GAN is facing into the room, which means that every night that this girl that M3GAN has been in the house, she is not charging at night. She is facing out the window, which, in hindsight is scary as hell.
This is where we get another one of those bizarre little singing scenes.
Yes.
Where M3GAN comforts Cady, and then in doing so, because Cady asked her, like, did you hurt Brandon? Like, did you do that on purpose? And there's this kind of back and forth where M3GAN doesn't necessarily want to admit what she's done,
but doesn't want to lie.
Yeah, it's more of just like, I did what was necessary. Like, let's just keep it at that. And then explains that she will protect her from anything, and then sings the song Titanium.
Yeah. Another important thing to note here is that during a conversation about what happened, because Cady is shaken by Brandon's death, and Gemma tries to comfort her and ensure her that Brandon's in a better place now. And so watching it, I decided to make a meme that we'll share that is going to be great. And it's about Brandon and whether or not he went to heaven.
The neighbor is back out that night looking for Dewey. and she hears noises coming from her backyard shed, where she ventures back, and you hear dog noises. Like, it is very specifically. But as we are aware, M3GAN is able to record sounds and play sounds.
Which, by the way, the first time we get a glimpse of that is in that montage of her interacting with Cady. It's she's reading her a story and is like reading it in like an old man's voice. And so again, that montage is just fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it truly is. Like, everything is such a like blink and you miss it setup, but it's like you absorb the information even if you didn't pick up on it.
Yeah. And they all pay off and it's all great. And so, yeah. And in what is the first classic horror movie moment? Celia goes into her shed where there is a pile of what looks to be a dog on the floor that slowly stands and is fucking M3GAN.
Yeah.
And she stood up and she's like kind of taunting Celia. And Celia says, "What are you?" And M3GAN's line is cold as ice. She's like, "I've been thinking a lot about that myself lately." And it's like, oh no, M3GAN, are you awake? Fuck. And then again, only speaking about the unrated cut, this is a pretty good, really well-made death sequence.
Yes. Because it's out of the ordinary. It's not something I've seen.
Yeah, it's out of the ordinary, and it's also set up. Because she's like sediment blasting the driveway, and it's something that Gemma complains about. The very first scene where Cady has come home with Gemma, she complains to Celia, Gemma does, about this sediment blasting thing.
Yeah, how the chemicals get all over her driveway, and she's tired of cleaning it all up.
Right. So then M3GAN murders this woman by using a nail gun to nail her to the tire of her lawnmower, and then uses that sediment blaster to spray her face off.
It's pretty great.
It's fucking awesome.
And it is a practical effect.
Especially because we're like 2/3 of the way through this movie now, and we've gotten one kill.
Yeah. From M3GAN specifically. Yeah. But no, this one is really well done. The practical effect, like you see her cheek like tear away.
Yeah.
And it's quick.
Yeah.
But it's effective.
It's yucky is what it fucking is.
The police obviously show up and to take Celia's body away in an ambulance, but then Gemma is also talking to like a detective.
Weirdest character in the movie.
Honestly is for a professional, clearly doesn't look like it.
He's like his tie's undone, he's chewing gum, and he's just like,
his hair is like greasy and
he's like, we had to take your statement. This is the second murder scene that you've been a part of. And, we were going to rule the first one out as accidental until we found that poor boy's ear, like
200 feet up on that hill.
And then he's like, think about it. If you think of anything, and then he just leaves.
Yeah. But this is where Gemma truly begins being suspicious of things going on with M3GAN. And so she goes back in and she starts checking the video files.
Which is
where everything that M3GAN sees is supposed to upload to the cloud.
Like a nanny cam.
Yes.
But this is where we get our clip of M3GAN saying some fucking cold shit. But what this establishes is that Gemma has built in a back door where there is a very specific, almost like stylus pen that if M3GAN's operating system sees, she powers off.
Oh, no. I don't take it as that. She hits like a button behind her ear.
What I mean is like she sees, it's like it stun locks her.
Yeah.
It keeps her from being able to move forward.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because it's like the pen and there's like that little light at the tip of it, but the light is only being viewed from M3GAN's perspective.
Right.
So I took it as like this piece. It's like if you hold it up, it'll.
Gotcha.
I might have been wrong about the entire thing now.
I don't know, but she tries to do the pin trick later. So I don't know. It may have, or it may just be trying to get her. I just took it as, hey, look at this thing right here. And then as she's looking over here, she's just like, Deet,
okay,
and turns her off.
Yeah, that's fair. Because M3GAN would be naive in that way.
Yeah.
She's, days old.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to make another Age of Ultron reference, but we'll carry on.
I'll cut that out.
Yeah. Elsie asks Gemma if she's all right before M3GAN comes in.
Right.
And so it's it's the question of, has she been compromised?
Well, and Gemma even says, you're not supposed to ask me how I'm doing. Yeah.
So it's, we see that sort of thing is happening, which we've seen kind of other things happen a lot, the lights flickering and things like that. But yeah, Gemma turns off M3GAN, wraps her in plastic, throws her in the back of the car.
And this is where Cady's actress goes above and fucking beyond.
Yeah.
Because like the therapist said, like Lydia said, how is she going to handle you separating them by force? And so M3GAN is powered off, zip tied and like thrown in the back, or duct taped and thrown in the back of the car. And they are driving to the funky headquarters.
Right.
And Cady freaks the fuck out. She is screaming. She is cussing. At one point, she kicks at Cady. Or at one point, Cady kicks at Gemma. And Gemma's like, hey, what the fuck? And she's like, I'm sorry. I need M3GAN. And M3GAN's like, bitch, I don't care. I'm sleeping.
I'm asleep. This is, we like, they're trying to figure out because they are supposed to give a public demonstration of M3GAN.
Right now.
Like, yeah, that day. And so they've got hours to figure this out or to call the whole thing off.
Right.
This is where it's revealed that M3GAN retails at $10,000.
Right.
Ridiculous.
It's like in the show Westworld when you find out like a weekend ticket to Westworld is like $400,000.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
You can fuck the robots. So that's what that show's about.
That is what that show is about. We have Lydia is trying to calm down Cady, if I'm not mistaken, and then Gemma comes in and they end up Cady ends up slapping Gemma through that argument. And then they finally have like a heart-to-heart of like, you know, hey, Gemma has finally kind of pulled her head out of her ass.
And this is the moment where she becomes our hero.
Yeah.
And Cady goes, without M3GAN, I can't help but feel like this. And Gemma goes, you are supposed to feel like this. Like, it's a brutal truth, but it is. The only way that we can process loss is if we, the species of temperamental little apes that we are, humanity is an ape movie. The only way that we can process grief is to confront it. You have to deal with it. And that's a harsh lesson for a child to learn, but children have to learn that. And it's the first time that Gemma becomes a parent. And in that moment, it's like something kind of clicks with Cady of like, okay, maybe the murder bot is not the answer.
Right.
Maybe it is Aunt Gemma. Maybe that's who my ride or die should be.
Yes. And so they leave to go back to their house and leaving M3GAN there. But as they're leaving, Gemma gets a call in the car from Tess.
Yeah.
And they talk briefly about like, hey, this is what's going on. Sorry, I got to leave. You know, Katie's not doing well.
We got to fucking shut M3GAN off.
But like, you agree, right? We shouldn't go through with this. And Tess is like, yeah, I totally agree. You're making the right choice here. And then Tess is seen with Cole
working on M3GAN.
Yes. And M3GAN is again like in her T-pose.
Her Jesus on the cross pose.
Yeah. Because she is here to die for our sins. But M3GAN is the one actually making the call. Because again, M3GAN can influence other smart things because Elsie is part of the car as well. I mean, I guess it's kind of like, it's like Siri. It's like, you know, whatever.
It's like Android Auto or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So here's another one of my pet peeves, which is, listening to our episodes back and editing and, working on them after they are recorded. I found that our movie pet peeves is a through line for most of our reviews. So here's a pet peeve of mine. Tess sees her phone, sees that a call with Gemma, her boss and friend, has been going on for like 5 minutes and it just ended. And she doesn't think, I should call her back. Or, that's noteworthy in any way. It's, okay. And she just moves on from it like nothing happened. That's fine. make the mistake, do what you want, you're a character, fine. It's also fine for the call to have happened and for Tess to not have acknowledged it. But why have her see the phone?
Yeah.
It adds nothing. You've written in a human being to act like an asshole. Just who fucking cares? And it's like, why wouldn't you care about that? If I walked into this room and you were at work and I looked down and it said call ended and there was a phone call from you for 5 minutes, I'd be like, what the fuck happened? Did he call and somehow it answered?
Right.
Like, let me call him back is at the very least what I would do. But no, she doesn't. And then she explodes.
She being Tess?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so they figure out that Megan is awake.
Yes.
Because
She grabs
they're going
Cole.
through like she like undoes the strap and wraps it around Cole's head.
Yeah.
Or his throat. And then pulls with the other wrist to hang him basically.
Yep.
And as he's struggling, Megan goes to leave and like stabs into a propane tank or something that's in a cage. Tess jumps into action to like cut Cole down. And about the time that they do, they're like, well, what does that smell? And then there's an explosion.
Which is why I said that she explodes.
But they both survive this movie.
Right. No, I understand that. But in order of events, phone call, Tess ignores that. Megan chokes this man out. They explode.
Okay. You're right.
Really cool moment here to really hammer home the fact that Megan can interact with technology in places around her is that the fire alarm is going off and Walk the Night starts playing. And there's no better song that they could have picked here. It's like a James Gunn Guardians Awesome Mix level prescient of like, no, this song is going to work great.
Yeah. Needle drop. Great.
And so as it's beginning to play, she's walking past a sensor panel and it's all red and it's like whoop, 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 like fire alarm is going off. And as she walks past, as her head passes, each one of like 6 alarm lights turns green in order and it's like all systems clear. And it's just cold as hell. And I love it. She manages to bump into David, who is the CEO, in like a hallway.
Yeah.
And he's on the phone leaving.
Trying to get a hold of Gemma.
And he says, hey, Gemma, you may not remember me. I'm David. I'm your fucking employer. Where are you? And he's just so mad. That guy is so fucking funny in this.
Yeah. He's got amazing delivery.
But he's like, he's like, we have a tech demonstration and we have no doll. And then he turns around and Megan is just standing looking at him in the hallway. And he's like, and he hangs up the phone.
Cue dance sequence,
which is weird.
Very
I don't
weird.
understand it. It's cool, but
basically
I don't get it.
what it is she is like distracting him, doing this weird dance down the hallway that allows her to then rip the bladed arm of like a paper cutter off to use as the coolest weapon ever.
It is. Question. Why didn't she monkey run? We've been shown that that's fast as fuck.
Well, she's holding the blade. She can't run on all fours while
She
holding
doesn't
the
need a blade. She can tear his ears off. She can smash him.
Yeah, but she wants to jam that thing right through him.
Apes together, Megan. Do you understand? She should have smashed him.
That's the
tagline for Megan 2.0.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, she rips one of those like paper cutters that you use to cut paper to shape. She tears the blade off of that and kind of wields it like both like a rapier and a machete. She's stabbing and slashing with it. But he is running away from Megan, and there's an elevator that just so happens to be about to close, and Kurt is in the elevator. And Ronnie Chung is going, hold the door, hold the door, hold the door. And so, of course, it cuts to Kurt. He's hitting the door close button as hard as he fucking can. The doors begin to close. They're mostly closed. David grabs the 2 doors and tries to pry them open. And then his like chest, what is basically a machete, bursts out of it, covering Kurt with blood.
Yeah. I love that.
Kurt falls backwards and he's like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. And then Megan slides the blade out from this guy, pushes him off to the side, walks in the elevator, and is basically like, well, you were stealing company secrets and you couldn't live with yourself. And so you killed him, but then could you live with yourself after you killed him? and then like trying to establish that no one will believe that this, like, it's going to look like a murder suicide.
Right.
And Kurt was like, no, I could live with myself. I could totally live with myself. And then she slits his throat, and it's a good throat slit.
It's
as far as
you know, simple, but yeah. And then as she leaves out the front door,
just walks right out,
and then gets into a you know, like a Lamborghini or something, because it's a smart car,
assumedly David's is what I assume.
Steals his car, and we return back to Gemma's house for the final showdown,
where she is saying goodnight to Cady.
Right. She says goodnight, and Gemma tries to talk to Elsie, the home AI, doesn't respond.
No.
And whenever she turns around, M3GAN is there in the darkness of the living room,
playing on the piano the song Toy Soldier.
Yeah, by Martika from 1988.
And also sampled in a song by Eminem.
That is correct. That's where I know it from.
Me too.
Because I'm not cultured at all.
I think I would argue that's kind of cultured.
Yeah. They have a back and forth there of basically what M3GAN telling Gemma that she has been terrible this whole time, and that she is not going to allow her to not take care of Cady, and that M3GAN has done a better job.
If you have no interest in watching this movie, you should, especially because we've done I think a good job of selling how interesting and like kind of compelling and nuanced this movie is. If you have no interest in watching this movie, just look up this scene because M3GAN's dialogue is so fucking funny. It makes me laugh every time because it's like, it is coming out of a like 4 foot tall little girl who's like, at one point they're sitting in they're like yelling, like kind of really aggressive language at each other. And Cady opens the door and she's like, Aunt Gemma, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. And she's like, I thought I heard M3GAN. And M3GAN's like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm all nuts and bolts and taken apart. Don't come in here.
Well, and what's horrifying in that scene is that when Cady asks, M3GAN immediately covers Gemma's mouth and then speaks in Gemma's voice.
Right.
To like calm Cady down and tell her, don't come in here.
Well, and then realizing that she can't sell that forever, looks at Gemma and says, if she comes in this room, I'm going to tear your head off your fucking neck. And it's like, M3GAN, what happened?
Yeah.
You were so sweet. Now you're so fucking evil, which is great. It's a great physical performance. It's great voice acting. That puppet, man, the face looks so sinister.
Yes.
And it's really good.
Gemma smashes a glass of water on M3GAN's head.
Well, right after
shorts her out for a second.
She tries to do the pen trick on M3GAN again, and M3GAN grabs that thing and slams her head into a fucking table, and it's just like, oh shit.
And that's where you get the kind of playful like. I hear, you know, what was that noise? Are you guys fighting?
Yeah.
No, we're not fighting.
No, I've been taken apart. And Gemma even too is like, stay in your fucking room, please.
Because I mean, in that moment, it's like, if she comes in here, I am at least dead, and I don't know what will happen to Cady.
Right.
So like, I have to protect, you know, myself to protect her at this moment.
And that's another thing, is that at this point, it honestly does feel like Gemma is more concerned for Cady than she is herself, which is the first time we've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And she leaves her job knowing that she's going to get her fucking shit chewed. That's a gross way to have said that. She leaves her job. I don't care. I'm keeping it. She leaves her job for the sake of Cady, and now she's not willing to risk Cady's life,
right? And
is basically going to be a hostage.
But she smashes her with the glass of water, which then kind of short circuits M3GAN. And they go down the hallway. This is a thing that like jumps out at me every time that I see it, because Gemma tries to get to Cady's bedroom. She reaches up to the doorknob. M3GAN grabs the doorknob instead and rips it off. And then Cady is stuck in her room. And it's like, that's not how doorknobs work.
Right. Especially because it's not like a deadbolt. It's like, well, if you tore the doorknob off, the door would just open.
Right.
There's now no longer a closing mechanism.
So I don't know. It's an odd thing to have happened. But they end up back in Gemma's workroom.
Yeah.
And like Gemma makes it in there first and like throws a hammer at Megan, who just catches it in the air.
Yeah.
And then like slides the work table out of the way as if it weighed nothing.
Well, and that's the thing, is that in these moments you're shown, oh shit, that's right, Megan is a fucking android. The other thing, the kind of theme that they're playing with now is like Megan has thought about what it would mean to kill Gemma. And like, well, they won't let me and Cady just live our lives. So I guess I'm going to have to fucking keep you alive too. But like, I can do that if you're paralyzed. And it's like, what the fuck? It goes from like kind of a, I don't know. That's dark.
It's really dark.
Yeah. That's dark on Chucky's worst day, dude. That's dark.
Yeah. It's the Charles Lee Ray going, if I can't have you, the police are on the way. I'm going to stab your unborn child.
Yeah.
Leaving them paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like, it's super dark.
Very dark.
This is a great scene. The hammer bit is hilarious. Gemma grabs like a hedge trimmer off the wall and then swings it around at Megan. It gets caught in her hair. It like cuts like part of her forehead. So she looks a bit more like Chucky in this moment.
Well, and it like tears out hair. And so she's got like the top of her head is bald. And
yeah, she's almost
got,
like scalped.
And like you can see like sparks going off in her head, but the face never changes.
Right.
It's just cold hatred. And it's unnerving.
Yeah.
Especially because this is, they make such a show of Megan looking so lifelike. And now she doesn't look alive. Now she looks dead. And it's creepy.
It kind of goes back to the initial, like, the test that they were trying to show David in the beginning, where they had left out that part and then her face swells up and explodes and things like that. It's like we've reverted back to that of like, oh yeah, she is a machine.
Right.
We are putting the humanity on her.
And even more proof of that, the payoff, she is then kind of smacked out of the way by Bruce, and it's observed that Cady has put the gloves on.
Right.
And it's, ding, ding.
Wonderful little payoff.
Yeah. And she, really fucks Megan up.
Yeah.
And like picks her up and tears her in half and tosses her like upper half off into the corner.
And then the, top half of Megan then crawls very much like the Terminator.
Yes.
Or like Chucky at the end of Child's Play 2.
Yeah.
Where he's on that little cart. But Megan crawls across with her arms.
Dude, by the way, how good is Chucky?
He's great.
a little guy.
He's a little guy.
Anyway, the effect of her crawling is astounding because it's obviously touched up.
Right.
But like, you can't see that scene. It's a wonderful little. It's hidden, and it's also from a creative perspective, from an art perspective, that is scary as fuck.
Yes.
Because again, the entire movie, Megan has been made to mimic a child, and now you have a legless child that looks undead crawling across a smashed wooden table to kill another little girl. Because at that point, it seems to me like, well, fuck it.
Right.
You don't want my help. Fine. I'm just going to kill you.
Yeah.
But this is where we remember that a processor is where robots' brains live. As
Gemma like smashes Megan and then ends up like pulling her face skin off and all the eyes and like mouth parts, revealing her inner brain area.
Which Cady then stabs with, I think it's like a Phillips head screwdriver.
Yeah, I think it's a big screwdriver. And then the movie's pretty much over at that point. They leave.
Seconds left,
They make it out to the front door of the house. The cops pull up. Tess and Cole are there. They're shown to be alive. And, kind of like at the end of Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah.
We have Gemma kind of cradling Cady, and they walk out of the house together. Like they've gone through this traumatic, horrible thing, but they are now, strong, hopefully in this familial relationship.
But where in Evil Dead Rise, the cliffhanger is Meef.
Right.
This one, It's an Amazon Echo.
Yeah.
The Elsie, the little, we call it like a little robot.
Because it's like the shot, they walk out of frame.
Past the camera.
And we sit looking through the open door. And then Elsie turns on and looks at the camera.
Which is like, the implication of that is like, oh, because here's the thing. If M3GAN survives this through Elsie and puts herself into something else, I assume that's what's going to happen.
Right.
If that happens, the thing it establishes is, like Chucky through the use of voodoo, you cannot kill M3GAN.
Yeah.
So I have 2 questions for you on the outset of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, do you recommend to your general audience, do you recommend M3GAN?
Yes. Yes to my general audience for sure.
Yeah. For your diehard horror fans? Because that's where I have to specify.
Yeah.
Yes, the director's cut.
Yeah, if you find the unrated cut, which is available on DVD, Blu-ray, all the things. Yes, that is the version. Honestly, for everyone, that is the version that I suggest.
Yeah.
I will say this is a good entry level if you're going to watch the PG-13 version of this. If you have kids who are like kind of interested in horror, and you want to test the waters, I think that this would be a very good one to try. Or
even if you're grown and like, if you're in my shoes and you've avoided this stuff for fear reasons for a very long time and you want to see if you can be the newbie here. Mm-hmm. Obviously you're not a schmoobie, but if you can newbie yourself into a movie, this is the groovy movie to newbie into.
Yeah. There's none of those other things though.
Yeah.
We'll leave that to the Chucky films.
Correct. I also recommend, depending on who you're talking to, I recommend this movie. I think it's exceptional. Mm-hmm. And, we've been blessed, especially with our, and this is my second question. At the end of all of our franchises, we rank that franchise. Mm-hmm. Let's see if you can do this on the fly. I'm putting you in the hot seat. Of the 3 non-franchise movies that we have now reviewed.
Oh, okay.
Can you give me a ranking? Can you give me a 3, 2, 1? I can. 3, Black Christmas. 2, M3GAN. 1, Cabin in the Woods.
Okay. 3 would be M3GAN for me.
Okay.
Like the 3 in her name.
Good.
Man, that is tough.
Between
though.
Black Christmas and Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah. I love both those movies so much.
Okay.
It's like, because I'm torn between.
Here, what gives you more joy? Mrs. Mack being pulley hanged into an attic, or Chris Hemsworth smashing it into an invisible wall?
Yeah, what I'm torn between is what I'm torn between every time we do one of these rankings, where it's like I'm weighing my own opinions versus like the caliber of the films, and like, oh well, this movie should mean more because it inspired these other things. So that's where it becomes difficult. But I still think Cabin in the Woods probably over Black Christmas.
Okay, understood. And we'll do that every time.
Okay, we'll just keep adding to it. Okay.
Oh, you know what?
I can keep up with that.
Final question.
Yeah.
Who wins in a fight? M3GAN or Chucky?
Ooh.
And I'll tell you why I think it's Chucky. Because Chucky could be Bruce. Chucky could be M3GAN. Chucky could be anything.
Chucky could be anything.
He uses voodoo, baby.
With like a body.
Yeah. Imagine one M3GAN versus a dozen Chuckies.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, Chucky's got.
Well, it's the argument of like what wins in a fight: one horse-sized chicken or 10 chicken-sized horses.
Yeah,
but in this case, it's many Chuckies versus one. Yeah, I think Chucky wins as well.
Yeah,
and that might be biased.
Yeah, you're obviously biased.
Now, question for you: who wins in a fight in your perspective, Chucky or Michael Myers?
Well, that one, I'm probably going to go with, they're toe for toe unstoppable killing machines.
Yeah, but here's
that like to use kitchen knives.
That's true. But even if Chucky shot him, I don't know, 6 times.
At least.
He'd escape.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
just disappear into the night.
That seems like a random segue to another classic horror franchise. Mm-hmm. Why isn't it random, Derek?
Well, if we haven't said it yet, let it be known that the next franchise that we are covering, probably the franchise that most people would say, why didn't you do that one first?
Right.
With the amount of times that you've referenced it and brought it up and other things.
How important it is.
How important it is to the, everything. We're going to cover John Carpenter's Halloween.
We're very excited. So please stay tuned. And then we will see you next week for Halloween.
Thanks for tuning into the Third Channel podcast. Please, if you have the time, rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast apps.
You can follow us on social media at Third Channel Podcast, and you can find me online at @DRosenberg.
You can also reach out to us at thirdchannelpodcast@gmail.com, where we check every message, we swear. Third Channel is hosted by PJ Minette
and Derek Rosenberg. Theme song and audio engineering by Fly Guy Ty.
The logo design by Bell DeVelco.
Episode artwork by Nathan Walkington.
Keep it tuned right here to the Third Channel for all things horror. And remember, don't touch that dial.
Egg salad and eggs.